Hey guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. And I am here today with Conan the King number 44 by Mike Doherty and Don Krar. And this is a magnificent comic book. And we're just going to flip through it almost as if this were a fireplace in the background or a fish tank. I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm just going to show off the art, starting with the cover here, and then we'll open it up. Spoils of victory. Conan has just defeated city-state of Argos, and he is about to be handed the crown and royal scepter. All his troops are praising him. That silver band over on the right is the crown that he's being offered. Doesn't this guy's chest look like a skull? Conan is stressed because Prince Khan is missing. This is Derek, Conan's son-in-law, the king of the Aesir, who's married to Conan's daughter Radgund. Conan is frustrated that he has this great army with all these soldiers, but his son is missing. What good is it to be an emperor or a king without an heir? This old guy down here is Palantides. Tricero is the younger one with the Tax-Hex sort of mustache, like King Xaltus had. We're going to see him in a few minutes. This is Rufio, who is Conan's court jester, but had previously rescued the Corinthian king and queen and their 5-year-old child. Conan's army is sacking the city and bringing all the gold to dump it at the foot of the royal court, the base of the stairs. Conan is also given the royal scepter, and he snaps it. Conan is not having a good day. Now, in the last issue, one of the royal wizards who is loyal to Conan came out with the gem called the Heart of Ahriman, which is a red crystal ball, and that revealed that Prince Khan was still alive. However, in this issue, we are beginning with the idea that that didn't happen, and that Conan has no idea where Prince Khan is, that he's simply missing. And in this one, the witch, Falca, that's not her name. I don't remember her name. Hold on. Zelada had trained Prince Taurus. She originally appeared as a very attractive teenage girl and trained Prince Taurus in the arts of magic before he was killed by a coalition of wizards, one of which was Crassus, who turned himself into a serpent. And Zelada comes forward and does a recap, a flashback for Conan in this pile of gold. She uses the reflections to show this story of how Prince Khan, that this dragon was actually the wizard Crassus, and that Prince Khan murdered him, and they plunged into the river, where Khan was dragged out by Leona and her want-to-be warlord Brax Althar, but she doesn't like him. So now it's being shown that Cagliostros is the one in charge. Rufio knows him, and Cagliostros is way more dangerous than Crassus. So Conan, at least for the moment, knows where his son is and knows what to do. However, I'm not going to complain about the writing. I'm just going to show off the art. There are some suspect decisions made on the part of the people driving the plot. Don Kraar is a magnificent writer. He wrote my favorite Conan story, The Wrath of Crom, in Savage Sword 157. And that's an uncolored story. I would love to color that if I more hours in the day. What's happening here, Conan has to he has to attack the city of Corinthia, which is where Khan is. But he also has some other things he has to knock out. He ends up going home. This is Crassus's head. So he has proof, and then Zalata vanishes after giving Conan this news. Conan sends Derek, Prince of the Aesir, or King of the Aesir, his son-in-law, and Rufio to rescue Khan. Meanwhile, his soldiers loot the city because he can't put them right back out to war again. He has to give them some time off. Rufio and Derek, though. Rufio knows the ins and outs of the city of Corinthia. Meanwhile, the soldiers get drunk. Rufio and Derek ride off. And Conan is watching overhead. So after the days of looting are ended, there is another battle that Conan watches from a rise overhead. His soldiers meet the army of Corinthia on the plains outside the city, while Derek and Rufio are sneaking into the city to rescue Prince Khan. That's Trocero with the Tex Hex mustache. This is the army of Corinthia surrendering to Conan. Conan demands a surrender without conditions. They all have to drop their weapons and march home, which they do. Now, this city, though, is apparently not undefended, and that's not where Conan's army is. This is where Braxal Thor and a few other guys, Cagliostros, Leonora is her name. She has got Prince Khan subjugated to a memory erasing drug, so he doesn't know who he is, and she's filling him with some sort of what's it called, where they make you want to have sex all the time? Those kind of drugs. This guy challenges Cagliostros and tells him he doesn't want to listen to him, so Cagliostros burns him to a crisp in front of everyone, just to display his power. And it's a good bit for a comic book. And the art is magnificent. This is the king of that city-state, and he immediately bends the knee without kneeling to Cagliostros. Prince Khan is brought out, and Derek and Rufio are watching, sneaking through the city, looking for an opportunity to rescue Prince Khan. So this is Leora here, not Lenona, or whatever I was saying. Leona. It's Leora, no N in her name. Been getting it wrong for 4 issues now. Here she is. So this is Derek and Rufio sneaking through the secret passages. This is Leora and Prince Khan as she keeps him drugged as her sex slave. Braxal Thor comes in and challenges Prince Khan without naming him. So they're going to have a fight over Leora. One of them is going to kill the other, except Cagliostros comes in, makes their swords hot so that they drop them, and then uses his Master of Magnetism powers to give Brax Althar back his sword and tells him to leave. Brax storms out. Cagliostros reasserts his authority. Derek and Rufio bide their time. Wolverine. Conan has gotten back home to Aquilonia, surprising his wife Zenobia, who surprises him with the news that she's pregnant, and the news that their daughter Radgan is pregnant. Cagliostros watches this through his magical abilities and lets Leora and Brax know that they now have a new advantage, that Conan's wife and daughter are pregnant. So he's going to do apparently some sort of telekinetic long distance abortion to break Conan's spirit. I don't care for the faces all the time. He doesn't draw Conan very attractive. It's still a good story. His panthers are a mix between a dog and a cat. Derek and Rufio sneak in to rescue Prince Khan and are immediately discovered. They try to fight their way out. Derek takes Leora hostage, puts a sword to her throat. Cagliostros makes promises he doesn't intend to keep in order to convince them to surrender. He has them all pinned by archers. I believe these are archers up here somewhere. Those aren't archers up there. Cagliostros demands their surrender, tells them he has them pinned down by archers, and promises to let them live. Of course, he doesn't keep any of his promises. That's a repetitive thing in this issue. Cagliostros and the rest demand that Derek fight Brax Althor. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to have, some gladiator games for sport. Brax Althor versus Derek, King of the Aesir. But before they make Derek fight Brax, they're going to make Derek fight Prince Khan, who still doesn't know who he is. And that is that. Fall of the Mutants, X-Men. All right, let's do the next bit. Hey guys, so today we were looking at Conan the King 43, I think, maybe 44. Which one is this? 44. Conan the King 44. And again, I want to stop talking about the story gaps. Yeah, they're taking liberties, okay? They're trying to move a lot of pieces and they're using magic to cover the gaps. Basically making phone calls, right? Phone calls and then lasers and magnetism. So there's a lot of magic. And in the last one, you had a guy turn into a dragon. And Zelada can teleport. So there's a lot of magic in here. But aside from that, it's a great comic book. It's a great comic book. This is a fantasy fairy tale, essentially. This is fantasy. It really is. And it's great for that. So, today's episode is brought to you by Legacy of a Mad Scientist and Legend of Ashley Fox, two awesome science fiction fantasy novels for you as audiobooks, paperbacks, ebooks, however you want to find them, they're out there. Today we have Conflicted card number 3. This one, I don't know why they keep, in this series, the third set, they keep naming the characters. This guy's named Gordon something. Gordon, just Gordon. Gordon, I kind of want to look at this, but I'm not going to break the... I don't want to edit. So anyhow, you run into a guy who for some reason caused you all kinds of drama, loss of possessions, family members. He really screwed you over, betrayed you somehow, and you have a chance to take revenge. What do you do to this individual? What kind of revenge do you take in the future? Is it fast? Do you lean into revenge and pull the pain out of another person? I could never do that. I think for the same reason I could never be a bully. There are times in my life when I have bullied mostly my younger brothers and sisters when we would get into arguments and fights and whatnot. So I've been guilty of that, but it's not something I do regularly. And it's not something I would take part in the end of the world. Revenge is an interesting thing. When you're not feeling it, it's easy to say you wouldn't participate. But when you're feeling it, when the emotions are, cranked to 11, most people are capable of just about anything. Things that they wouldn't do when the rational side of their mind is running the show. Most people really are. We don't like to admit it, but we are a little bit schizophrenic. We are not always in control, right? We react with different sets, and by that I mean humans do not always use the same sets of rules to react to circumstances. Based on our emotional state, we have different groups of reaction sets for the same circumstances, right? That's what it means to be human. Is you don't always react the same way. Your goal as an individual is to be calm and even and cool. And if you stay cool, the world stays cool. If you stay level, the world stays level. That's your goal in life. To always use the same set, the same reaction set, preferably the one that is based in rational thought and, patience and reflection and wisdom and empathy for others. The Plains Indians, I don't know if it was the Iroquois League or some set of American Indians. I believe it was the Iroquois League. The way they did their democracy was the rule that kept them living in tents instead of castles and war. Apologies for all the cuts today, but the Plains Indians had a rule. This was how they governed their democracies. This is how they wrote all their laws and managed all the votes that they had. If it's not good for everyone, it's not good for anyone. That's a true democracy. That's communism. The Plains Indians had 1,000 years, you could say, of peace, except they were at war with each other all the time. But they had, if there was ever a promised land on this globe, it was the 1,000 years of peace that the Plains Indians, maybe 2,000 years, 3 or 4,000 years of peace that they had before Europe and Africa asserted itself on this hemisphere. If I could go back to just about any time in history, you know what I mean? Of course, they had disease and war, and it wasn't all I'm making it out to be. I'm using the Disney, the Robin Hood Disney, where the animals, the foxes and the bears all play together, and the lions and the wolves. Aside from that, I had some other point that I was trying to make here. And revenge. How would you carry out revenge? Or how do you avoid, or really, how do you use the same decision-making set all the time and not let your emotions color your judgments? It's this schizophrenia, right? We all have that a little bit, in that I'm sure probably anyone who listens to this, Christopher Langdon is the smartest man in the world, and he believes in God. I like to think I'm smart, but I have to recognize that I am agnostic, a believer, and an atheist, all at the same time. There's a part of me that doesn't know about God and the external, the great beyond, right? The firmament, whatever else, egregores, archons, whatever you want to call the supernatural. There's a part of me that absolutely does not believe in it whatsoever, that it's not going to help me pay my rent. And then there's a part of me that honestly, doesn't know, and then knows I don't know. And so I think it was F. Scott Fitzgerald, maybe, and it wasn't Francis Scott Key, I think it was F. Scott Fitzgerald, who said that genius is the ability to hold conflicting states of mind at the same time and still be productive. So basically, to be an atheist and a believer at the same time. And in some ways, this gives you a little bit of freedom in what you choose to believe, right? So if you lean into that, and you choose to believe that cheating is wrong, and that stealing is wrong, and that bullying people is wrong, torturing people is wrong in all circumstances, you're not going to take that kind of revenge. It's a choice. You can choose to believe in the Catholic Church, or the Lutheran Church, or the Protestant Church, or the Mormon Church, or the Church of Latter-day Saints, which I think is the Mormon Church, I don't know. But it's still a choice. You have to lean into that choice. You can choose to believe in Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. I don't give a shit. You don't have to believe in it. You can choose to believe in money. It's still a choice. And there's always going to be the other side of your mind that questions that choice, right? And then the third side of your mind that says, it's not over until it's over, and until the consequences of the choices become apparent, the choices aren't even really made. It's sort of like, does a tree fall in the forest, or it's Schrodinger's cat, right? Until you open the box, the cat is neither alive nor dead. But as long as the cat's in the box, it's not a cat, it's a box. Does that make sense? A cat is a companion for a child or a lonely person. A cat is something you feed every day, and it purrs, and it comes up and bothers you when you don't want it to, and it knocks things off shelves for no reason. A cat inside a box is just a box. In a lot of the Buddhist, Asian, philosophical, they're not really religions, they're sort of ways of living. The arm's reach thing is a big deal. Right? The highest method of life in Indian culture is to move through the world without disturbing it whatsoever. Now that is pretty much the antithesis of Western civilization, where it is to leave the biggest mark on the world that you can. Leave the biggest monument to yourself, the highest, put your name, mark your name, Ozymandias, all over your culture, right? Your brand. So how do you worship the brand and not worship at the same time? And I think that is the synthesis. You make your brand do something good for everyone else. And in that way, it doesn't matter if it's a success or a failure. Simply by engaging in it, you are in this way going with the current and nourishing the world, right? There is a way to go with the current that is magic. You can put up a sail and then use the current and the wind. You can do a lot in this world. Branding, doing it in a way that's competitive is not teaching people to fish, right? It's farming fish and then selling them. That's not how Disney started out, but I think that's what Disney is today as a brand. Disney started out, they weren't even writing their own stuff. They were animating cultural fairy tales, right? They took stuff that was already in existence. So now that is a little bit like licensing a character like Conan, right? Where I chose to write my own characters, but that's neither here nor there. It's the theme of the characters is how you have to judge the brand, right? Now, I'm not trying to do Bill and Ted Save the World because the world needs saving. I'm trying to do Bill and Ted Save the World because Bill and Ted is a lot of fun. Saving the world is the most impossible thing to do, and that's why your heroes never run out of challenges. Go ahead, try to make the world so everything is up. Try to remove selfishness and greed and hate. You're never going to do it, but you can tell stories about it forever, and you should. And that's what this stuff is about. So please check it out. AshleyFox.ninja, alphachannel.games, and be back out here tomorrow. See you guys.